Hi friends! Welcome back to another episode of New English Podcast, the podcast that boosts your English and expands your mind. I'm Joy. How's everyone doing? Today, I'm really excited for this new listening episode. By now, you know we do our best to speak slowly so you can focus more and understand as much as possible. The theme of today's episode is family. I'll be talking about my friend Jessy's family, which has some interesting details. In addition to improving your listening and comprehension, I hope to help you learn new words that will help you talk about your own family or the family of someone you know, just like I'll be doing today. Are you ready? Let's not waste any more time and get straight to the topic of today. The family of my friend Jessy is the Smiths. They are very nice and friendly people, but also a little bizarre. For example, Bob Smith, the father and head of the family, doesn't have the usual dog or cat as a pet. No, he has an iguana, and he allows it to walk around the house. Odd, isn't it? Mum Liza actually wanted a cat, but they couldn't agree again this year. So the iguana, whose name is Rex, is still the family's only pet. Bob and Liza have 3 children, Jessy, my friend, Tim, and then the youngest, Jerry. Jessy is the eldest. She's 32. Tim is 26, and little Jerry is only 8. Jerry is an adopted son. It's a bit of a sad story, but all you need to know is this. He has had a difficult time, but today he is a happy, loved, and finally safe child. Jessy is married to Paul, and they have a 1-year-old son named Gregory. Jessy and Paul live in their own house, but they visit Bob and Liza when they can, especially on Sundays. Sunday is a very special day for the family. Even the grandparents, Pat and Carmen, come to the Smiths' house. Pat and Carmen are Liza's parents. Unfortunately, Bob's parents passed away some years ago, so Jessy never had the chance to meet her paternal grandparents. Bob's brother Jack also comes over for lunch on Sundays. Jack is the uncle of Jessy, Tim, and Jerry. He always makes lots of silly jokes and makes everyone laugh. Before we continue, let's do a quick recap, okay? Bob and Liza are the parents. Bob is the dad, Liza is the mum. The children of Bob and Liza are Jessy, Tim, and Jerry. Jessy is married to Paul, and they have a son, Gregory. Gregory is the grandson of Bob and Liza. Then we said that Liza's parents are alive and their names are Pat and Carmen. So, Pat and Carmen are the grandparents of Jessy, Tim, and Jerry. For little Gregory, they are the great-grandfather and great-grandmother. Dad Bob has a brother named Jack. He is the uncle of Jessy, Tim, and Jerry. Shall we go on? Let's go. The Smith family lives in a house that is not very big, but very lively. There is always someone talking, someone laughing, someone forgetting something. Bob works as an IT technician. He spends many hours at the computer, but when he comes home, he always tries to spend time with his children, especially with Jerry. Liza works part-time in a bookshop. She loves to read. She loves silence. And that's probably why she wanted a cat for years. One day, perhaps, she'll be able to convince Bob. Jessy lives with his husband Paul and their son Gregory. She no longer lives with her parents, but she often comes back to visit them, especially on Sundays. Tim still lives at home. He is 26 years old, but he is in no hurry to leave. He is quiet, a bit messy. He always leaves his things lying around. Jerry, on the other hand, is the heart of the family. He is curious. He asks lots of questions, sometimes too many. He likes to draw. He likes to make up stories. And he adores Rex, the iguana. Rex follows him everywhere, or at least tries to. In the evening, when the whole family is together, they have dinner at the same time. Not always in the same mood, but together. They talk about their day, about school, about work, about little things. It's not a perfect family. Sometimes they argue. Sometimes they're tired. Sometimes they disagree. But they love each other, and you can feel it. This is the Smith family. A little strange, a little noisy, but very united. During the week, the Smith family follows a fairly simple routine, but it's never the same. Every day, something slightly different happens. Bob wakes up early, almost always before everyone else. It's his habit. He likes the silence of the morning when the house is still quiet and Rex the iguana sleeps motionless under the heat lamp. Bob makes coffee and looks out the window, thinking about the day ahead. Liza wakes up shortly afterwards. She doesn't like noisy mornings too. They exchange a few words, sometimes just a glance, but it's enough to understand each other. Jerry is always the last to wake up. He has trouble getting out of bed and often makes up excuses to stay under the covers for a few more minutes. He says he's tired. He says he had a strange dream. He says he doesn't feel well. In the end, though, he always gets up. Rex is waiting for him. Or rather, Rex is already there, still, not moving, watching him. Jerry often talks to the iguana. He tells it what he's going to do at school, what he drew the day before, or what he'd like to eat for lunch. No one judges him for this. In the Smith household, talking to an iguana is considered normal. Tim, on the other hand, is not a morning person. He gets up late when he can, especially on weekends. During the week, he struggles to stick to a schedule. He often rushes out of the house, forgetting something. His keys, his wallet, sometimes even his phone. Liza reminds him every time. Tim smiles, thanks her, and promises to be more careful next time. It almost never happens. Jessy usually comes over on the weekend. She rings the doorbell and Jerry runs to open the door. He is always happy to see her. For him, Jessy is a kind of heroine. She is grown up, independent, works, and always seems to know what to do. Jessy often brings something to eat, a cake, biscuits, or simply some fresh bread. She says it's a habit, but in reality, it's a way to still feel part of the family. When Jessy is at home, the atmosphere changes slightly. There is more talking. There is more laughter. Bob tells stories from the past. Liza listens and smiles. Tim teases his sister, and Jerry asks questions about everything. Sometimes they argue, of course. Jessy and Tim don't always agree. They have different personalities. Jessy is more organised, more practical. Tim is more relaxed, slower. But in the end, they always find a balance. During the week, however, the Smiths' house is not always so peaceful. Every day brings its own little challenges. Liza works hard and often comes home tired. When she gets home, she takes off her shoes, puts down her bag, and stands in silence for a few seconds, as if to leave all the noise of the day outside. Then she goes to the kitchen and starts preparing dinner, even though sometimes she doesn't really feel like it. Bob tries to help her, but not always in the right way. Sometimes he forgets the ingredients. Other times he follows recipes that are too complicated. They end up laughing and ordering something to eat. Jerry does his homework at the kitchen table. He doesn't like it very much, but Liza sits next to him and helps him patiently. Jerry asks a lot of questions. Some are simple, others very profound. He asks why people argue, why some children live with different families, why Rex doesn't speak. Liza answers as best she can. She doesn't always have all the answers, but she listens. And for Jerry, that's very important. Tim spends a lot of time in his room. He listens to music, watches videos, thinks about the future. He's not sure what he wants to do. Sometimes he feels behind the others. He sees Jessy as an example, but also as pressure. They rarely talk about it, but when they do, it's always a sincere conversation. Jessy doesn't give him unsolicited advice. She just tells him that everyone has their own timing. In the evening, Bob takes care of Rex. He checks the lamp, the food, the water. He talks to the iguana as if it were an old friend. He says Rex helps him relax. Liza pretends not to understand, but deep down she knows it's true. Rex has become a stable, almost symbolic presence, as if he represents everything that is unusual but accepted in that house. In the evening, after dinner, the house changes pace. The lights dim, the noises slow down. Jerry often asks for a story before going to sleep. Not just any story. He always wants it to be made up on the spot. Sometimes the protagonist is a brave child. Sometimes a strange animal. Sometimes a family that travels a lot. Bob tries to invent complicated plots, but Jerry always stops him and asks him to slow down. Liza smiles from the doorway and says that Jerry needs time to get into things. Jessy, as I already told you, visits them when she can. Sometimes she comes alone with Gregory, other times with Paul. Now she has her own life with her own rhythms. When she returns home, she takes some of the noise of the Smith family with her. Sometimes she misses the chaos. Sometimes thinking about that chaos makes her feel tired. But she knows that that house, her family, remains important. Tim sometimes goes out in the evening, sometimes stays at home. When he stays in, he watches a film with Bob. They don't talk much during the film, but they comment on the scenes afterwards. They talk about wrong choices, second chances, characters who change. Without saying so openly, they also talk about themselves. It's their way of communicating, simple and quiet. Before going to bed, Liza tidies up the kitchen. As she does so, she thinks back on her day. Not everything, just a nice moment. A gesture from Jerry, a joke from Bob, a phrase Tim said almost by accident. She knows that not every day is special, but every day has something worth keeping. Sunday is the most important day for the Smith family, the day when everyone gathers together. The grandparents, Pat and Carmen, arrive early in the morning. Bob picks them up by car and drives them to the house, while Liza is in the kitchen preparing a huge tray of roasted chicken and fried potatoes. Grandma Carmen and Bob join her in the kitchen, while Tim, Jerry, Uncle Jack and Grandpa Pat are in the living room watching the football match. Jessy and her husband Paul, with little Gregory, are always the last to arrive. They usually come just 10 minutes before the meal is ready to be served. Once everyone is together around the table, it's the best moment of the day. The table is full of food, laughter, and chatter. Everyone shares stories and jokes, and for a few hours, all the noise and mess seem to disappear. It's a special time, filled with love and connection, where everyone forgets the stress of the week and just enjoys being with family. Even Rex, the iguana, seems to relax, quietly watching from his corner of the room. It's a time when the family feels truly united. The Smith family is not perfect. It is not quiet. It is not tidy. But it is a real family. A family that changes, grows, and makes mistakes. A family that has found its balance even with an iguana roaming around the house. And perhaps that is what makes it special.
Guys, quick break. Before I forget, I've got something awesome for you. I've created a set of exercises to help you improve your English using today's episode. Download the file from the description and give them a try. It's completely free. Inside, you'll find true or false questions, spot the mistake exercise, open-ended questions, and more to test your learning curve. If you have any difficulties, there's another file with all the answers. However, if you don't want any help, I recommend listening to the episode again. I'm sure you'll be able to do it on your own. Please write in the comments what you think of the exercises, and let me know if you have any suggestions for future ones. Let me know. Now let's get back to the video.
So, what do you think of the Smith family? Were you able to catch all the details? The exercise file you'll download today is packed with fun and useful listening comprehension exercises. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of the key family terms we covered today. Let's take a closer look at the vocabulary. Father, dad. A man who has one or more children in relation to his children. Bob Smith is the father of the family, or simply Dad, as the children call him. Mother, mum. A woman who has conceived and given birth, a female parent. Liza is the mother, or mum. Son, daughter, the child in relation to the parents. Jessy is the daughter of Bob and Liza. Tim and Jerry are the sons of Bob and Liza. Stepfather, stepmother. If one of your parents marries someone else, that person becomes your stepfather, if it's a man, or your stepmother, if it's a woman. For example, my mum married another man after my dad passed away. Her new husband is now my stepfather. Other words with a similar meaning: father-in-law, foster father, mother-in-law, foster mother. Stepson, stepdaughter. A stepson or stepdaughter is a child from your partner's previous marriage. For example, my mum married another man after my dad passed away. I became the stepson of her new partner. Grandfather, grandmother. The grandfather and grandmother are your parents' parents. For example, Bob Smith's parents and Liza's parents are the grandfather and grandmother of Jessy, Tim and Jerry. Grandson, granddaughter. Grandson and granddaughter, or more generally grandchildren, are the children of a person's son or daughter. Maybe it sounds a bit difficult, right? Let's make it simpler with an example. In this family, Bob is the father. Jessy is one of his children. Jessy has a son, Gregory. So Gregory is Bob's grandson. Granddaughter is used for females. Uncle, aunt. Uncle and aunt are the siblings of your parents. If your dad has a brother, that is your uncle. If he has a sister, she is your aunt. Cousin. A cousin is the child of your aunt or uncle. For example, if your mum or dad has a sister or a brother who has a child, that child is your cousin. Nephew, niece. Nephew and niece are the children of your brothers and sisters. Nephew is for males, niece if for females. Son-in-law. The husband of one's daughter, considered in relation to the daughter's parents, the parents-in-law. So, for example, if Jessy had a husband, let's say Paul, Paul would be the son-in-law of Bob and Liza, and Bob and Liza would be the parents-in-law of Paul. Daughter-in-law. Considered in relation to the son's parents, the parents-in-law. So, for example, if Tim had a wife, let's say Sarah, Sarah would be the daughter-in-law of Bob and Liza, and Bob and Liza would be the parents-in-law of Sarah. Brother-in-law, sister-in-law. A brother-in-law or sister-in-law is your partner's brother or sister. And this brings us to the end of another episode. If you've listened all the way to the end, well done! You've shown great consistency and strong motivation. Congratulations, friends! Keep going like this. Remember the goals you've set for yourself. I'm sure you can reach them. With dedication and patience, you will learn this wonderful language. I invite you to check out the other episodes on the channel if you've missed any, to download and complete today's exercises to improve even more. And if you found the family words a bit difficult, don't worry at all. I've prepared a small drawing that you'll find in the solutions sheet of the exercises. And most importantly, if you don't want to miss future episodes, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. I'm Joy, and I wish you a beautiful day, or a lovely good night if you're about to go to sleep. See you in the next episode. A big hug and stay safe.